Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Chi-Town Guy 89, and as you can tell from my setup, I am a huge Chicago sports fan. I am also a huge wrestling fan. So this YouTube channel is a mix of the two, but if you are a fan of sports and not wrestling, have no fear, videos are separate. Same if you are a wrestling fan and not a sports fan. And 2 videos will be released tonight, one for each category, but in the future, wrestling videos will be Tuesdays, and sports videos will be Wednesdays. So let's get into some sports talk. The Bears front. Not talking about Jay Cutler. I'm done with him. Bears can't win with him till the season starts. Then I'll say they're going to win the Super Bowl. But that's come from here, not here. But on the Bears front today, rumor is that Brandon Marshall is on the trading block. And they want him off their salary before the new league year starts next week, where they would have to pay him, even if they traded him. I don't understand that. If you're doing a fire sale, then I get it. But if you were doing a fire sale, I'd start with someone who has a lot more value. And that would be Matt Forte. But I'm not saying I want a fire sale, because I don't think the Bears are in a position to need to do a fire sale. Brandon Marshall is really the heart of that team. He's the only guy out there that when things got tough, I saw still play with heart. Yeah, he's had his issues in the past. Yeah, he allegedly did some really bad stuff, but he's got his head in check. He's got his mental disorder in check. He's on medication and everything. Big advocate for mental health awareness. And he's Jay Cutler's favorite target. I think if Jay Cutler is going to somehow be successful, it's going to be because of Brandon Marshall. And not just Brandon Marshall catching the ball, but if Brandon Marshall is doing well enough to draw a double team, get receivers off of Jeffrey, or defenders off of Jeffrey, get defenders off of Bennett, and allow those two to shine, while Marshall is also a threat. I hope they don't do it, because if they do, I will have no hope for the season, because I love Alshon Jeffrey. I don't think he's at the #1 receiver level yet, though I value him over Marshall because he is a lot younger. He has a lot more years to give than Marshall. Now, onto a Chicago team that is in season, the Bulls. The Bulls tonight got a 108-105 win over the Thunder, who have been red hot lately on the back of Russell Westbrook, who has been playing out of his damn mind. 4 straight triple-doubles, and I believe 2 straight with at least 40 points. That's incredible. That's unbelievable. That's unthinkable. That's Jordan-esque. And as a Chicago guy, you won't hear me say that a lot. Not comparing him to Jordan, because no one compares to Jordan. Nobody. But Russell Westbrook has been playing out of his mind. And I think in 4 games and the entire month of February, he's played himself into the MVP discussion. Now, right now, my MVP would still probably go to Steph Curry. Steph Curry is shooting over 50% from 3. Steph Curry is the best player on the best team in the Western Conference, which is the better of the 2 conferences in the NBA. Now, it's still questionable whether the Thunder are going to get into the playoffs because they haven't had Kevin Durant for a chunk of the year. They don't have him now. He's I believe re-aggravated his foot injury. They didn't have Westbrook for a chunk of the year. They didn't have them both for the chunk of a year. They have ran into a lot of bad luck. And I believe if Westbrook can keep playing the way he is, and Oklahoma City can hold off the Pelicans for that last playoff spot, I believe that not only would Russell Westbrook be a very likely choice for a lot of people for MVP, Thunder would be extremely dangerous in the playoffs. Especially if they got in at 8 and Golden State held on to the 1 spot, and you would have Curry and Westbrook going at it, which for the fans, that would be amazing. That would be must-see TV. And I think the NBA hopes that happens. But I think Golden State hopes that either Oklahoma City is able to climb or doesn't make the playoffs. Because I don't think they want to see them in the first round. Because if I had to pick, I'd say OKC would win that series. Because not only is Westbrook a tremendous offensive player, he is a very good defensive player. And I think he could give Curry fits. And that could spell disaster for Golden State, who, if they don't run into OKC, have championship aspirations. Now, speaking of championship aspirations, until this past week, I really felt my heart of hearts. The Bulls had them. But they lost Derrick Rose. And Taj Gibson is injured. And Jimmy Butler's injured. Now, 3 of their top players are out right now. But hopefully, all 3 could be back for a playoff run. But what Derrick Rose are we going to see? Are we going to see tentative Derrick Rose that we saw the beginning of this season and when he played last season? Or are we going to see the Rose that we were starting to see before he tore his MCL? He had a meniscus tear. If we see the Rose that is aggressive and drives to the basket and can draw fouls and doesn't get hurt, and we also have Jimmy Butler, who can play out of his mind on days, and we have Taj Gibson, who off the bench is a lights-out defender, and Gasol and Mirotic might come into his own, I still don't see why we couldn't give anyone in the East a run for their money. Now, speaking of the East, it's a 2-headed giant up there right now with Cleveland, and Atlanta. Atlanta is Spurs East. They're the San Antonio of the Eastern Conference. They play tremendous team basketball. They are tremendously unselfish, and it's pure basketball with them. It's not star-driven basketball. It's team-driven basketball. And as San Antonio has proved, that still wins. And as they proved last year, team-driven basketball will beat individual basketball more often than it won't, in my opinion. Now, will Atlanta make it to the finals? I don't know. Because though San Antonio, who has won 5 NBA championships in the last 15 years, is a team-driven, a team-oriented team, they have 3 tremendous individuals in Duncan and Parker and Ginobili. Now, those 3 are aging and not what they used to be, but they're still great players. It's just they're not great players every night. I don't think you can name 3 really great players on Atlanta. But maybe you don't have to. Maybe they're going to be the team that'll win without having a big superstar. But they have Cleveland in their way, who are starting to play together like a team. And that's scary because they've got LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love. If those 3 guys play up to their potential, who the hell is going to beat that team? I want an answer as to who the hell is going to beat that team. If you guys think someone will beat that team, give me a team that can beat that team if they're all playing to their potential right there in the comments. I want your opinion because I can't think of a team that can win 4 out of 7 against a team with LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love all playing up to where they're capable. But who knows? Basketball, it's a crazy sport sometimes. Things happen. 8 seeds beat 1 seeds. 2 seeds beat 7 seeds. Or 7 seeds beat 2 seeds. Now, on to another loss in Chicago sports this past week. Patrick Kane, though not pictured here, my beloved Chicago Blackhawks. He was checked into the boards last week, as most of you probably know, and he broke his collarbone. Now, he could still make it to the playoffs, but only if Chicago, I believe, would be in the second round. And without Kane, I don't know if they can get to the second round. But I hope they can, because I think even if Kane comes cold into the playoffs in the second round, Blackhawks are the favorite. Kane has been playing out of his mind this season. Tied for the leading scorer of the NHL, and could have been, I believe, the first American-born MVP in some odd amount of years. But he broke his collarbone, so that's not going to happen. But I have no doubt the Blackhawks will still make the playoffs without Kane, because the Blackhawks have a tremendous amount of depth, and they can make up for his scoring to a degree. Now, they're not going to find one guy to do it. It's going to have to be a collective effort with Sharp and Taze and Hossa and all of them. And they're going to have to play better on defense too. Crawford's going to have to play lights out goaltender. Keith is going to have to get in the way of everything on the defensive end. Keith is going to have to hit people, Bickle, and all of them. They're going to have to get in people's faces. They're going to have to start playing rough. Because I think that's how you survive without Kane, is by playing lights out defense and collective group effort on the offense. And now on to my first love of sports, the Cubs in baseball. Spring training is underway, and it is a matter of a month or less till the season begins. Now, for the first time in a long time, my hopes for the Cubs are semi-high. We've got Joe Madden as the manager. We've got John Lester as our ace. We've got a lot of young talent coming up this year. And we've got the number one rated farm system that, it's like by a mile, number one rated. People are comparing it to the best in recent memory. And we've got Theo running the show, and Theo has proven he can take what was once a losing tradition and make it a winning tradition. Look at what he did in Boston. But a lot of people have a lot of too high hopes about the Cubs this year, in my opinion. People screaming World Series. This is the year. Back to the Future was right. Unless Chris Bryant and Soler and Baez and all of them play up to their peak potential, Lester is lights out on the mound. Travis Wood is lights out on the mound. Everyone else is. It would take a collective monster seasons, I believe, for this team to be a World Series team. Now, could I be wrong? Yeah, I've been wrong in the past. But I believe we're 2 to 3 years away. I think on the lower end of that, I think 2 years would be an acceptable amount of time to give this team. But I firmly believe within 5 years, I will be celebrating the first Cubs World Series win since 1908. And in other baseball news, really tough break for defending World Series champs out there in San Francisco. Hunter Pence, I believe, broke his arm on a high inside pitch, and he's going to be out for 2 months. Now, that's a tough break because he's one of their best players. And odd years are not friendly to the Giants, apparently. Because since 2010, every even year they've won. Every odd year, they've missed the playoffs. So even years, win the World Series. Odd years, miss the playoffs. It's a crazy coincidence. But that's about it for sports news today. Until next time, friend me on Facebook, subscribe to my sports blog. The link is in the description. Until next time, I am signing off, and I bid you all a good night.